Well, welcome everyone. Thank you for coming. We're here to introduce the next generation sub-floor product. A product that we feel will revolutionize the construction industry, not just in home ownership or your homes, but also for commercial buildings, institutional buildings, all buildings of all nature, where some of the biggest issues that are faced with flooring problems are water, moisture, mold, and mildew. Very hot topics within the construction industry and things that people are working on a daily basis. We'll start by introducing the product itself and showing you a little bit about that before we have a presentation on the product and its benefits. The product is a two-part system. The bottom surface is made from recycled car tires and post-consumer plastics. So it has a nice green story to it. We take quite a number of tires, quite a number of pieces of bottles and plastics out of the landfills and turn them into a useful product. Bottom is channeled so that any moisture that comes up through the concrete floors, or floors in general, will work its way to the drains and won't get up into your surface material, which could be your carpets, could be your laminated woods, could be tiles, any of those things where damages can really occur. So that bottom part is a recycled car tires and post-consumer plastics, and the surface material is a magnesium oxide. Magnesium oxide is a natural occurring mineral. It is created from volcanic activity, and it's turned into this board. This board and the rubber backing for this product are totally impervious to mold, mildew, and moisture. You could leave this in a tank of water and it would not change over time. It's a dimensionally stable product, so it won't shift or expand or contract with temperature changes or with moisture changes within your room. We designed the products for ease of installation, because a lot of products that are used today either have to be anchored down, bolted down, put in a bed of mortar, a lot of activity that has to go in to get a subfloor down on the floor. And a lot of people will ask, well, why do you need a subfloor? Well, you need something between a cold concrete surface or wood surface that's going to protect the surface material, that you spend a lot more money on the surface material than you will on this product here going down. To lay it down, you simply align yourself along the starting wall. The first panel will go down along that line. You'll run a bead of adhesive, and we recommend that you use a PL400 premium adhesive, which is a urethane-based adhesive. One of the things you have to watch with, because what that urethane-based adhesive is doing is creating the seal between the panels, so moisture can't come up between the panels. So now you've sealed moisture underneath. A lot of people will use things that are made from latex-based glues. And latex-based glues are not things that you want to use around moisture, because latex will absorb moisture. And then over time it will dry out, crack, and you've lost the benefit. So that first piece goes down. The next piece will go down on a brick pattern and lay it in a brick pattern that way. And that's as quick as that can go down. That's 10.5 square feet gone down on the floor that fast. So typically with a 1,000 square foot room, two guys can lay a floor in about 4 hours. You don't have to pull the surface, the floor glue up. If you've got a concrete one or you've got an old tile that's there, you can lay this directly over top of it. If you have carpet, obviously you're going to take that up before you lay it down. The only time we talk about having to do any kind of surface preparation for existing floors is when you've got bigger undulations in the floor. Large cracks, those sort of things need to be fixed or repaired. But if the undulation is less than a 1/4 inch over a 4-foot span, this will simply conform to that, and you don't have to worry about trying to fix your floor that's down. Contractors and those sort of things understand what needs to be done, but within the contractor world, contractors typically, when they put a subfloor down, as I said before, they're going to bolt it down, they're going to glue it down, or they're going to put it in a bed of mortar, which to me is kind of, I don't know what the right word would be, but it's not intuitive for me to actually bolt something down onto a concrete floor, because that's when things are going to start to go wrong with the surface. Because now it's adhered to that surface, that concrete floor. If you haven't decoupled from that, then any crack in the floor is going to transition up into the surface floor. Now if you've got tile or laminate woods, those things are going to start to split apart. because they're anchored to the floor. We created this as a floating floor system. You can run it right out to the edges, so you don't have to worry about leaving dimensions around the outside because there is no expansion or contraction of the product. But we decoupled it from the concrete or wood surface. So you don't have to worry about any changes in that substrate, which is what they're called, to what's happening on the surface. You know, the most important thing for anybody that's laying a subfloor, which is a requirement, is saving money. That's what the game is all about. And with this, you've got to we just talked about the preparation of that substrate. You've got to do something with that. In any other form that you're going to do, if you're going to anchor it down, bolt it down, or glue it down, you've got to fix the substrate. With Tyroc, you don't need to do that, so you eliminate it. Moisture mitigation materials, they do have to put something down over top of the concrete to mitigate moisture. And there are all kinds of rubber mats out there and other products that can be put down over top. But they anchor those down onto the substrate, the concrete, or the wood. Then you've got a nice sound attenuation. And this is a big deal in a multi-residential facility, whether it's a condominium or just a multi-residential building. Sound attenuation is something that has become a great big deal over the last few years. Then you need a subfloor to go over top of all of that, so now you can put your finished floor on it. So here we're talking about 3 layers of materials that have gone down where Tyroc will do all in one. You just lay it down, you're done. Okay? And then of course you're going to finish it out. When they're doing those subfloors, it depends again on the type of subfloor they're using today. As I said, some of them are glued down, some of them are put in a bed of mortar, and some of them are anchored down. Now if you think about anchoring it down or drilling a bolt down through a concrete floor, you just created an ingress point for water to come in. So if you're not sealing up those bolt holes properly, you've just created another. The other thing you've done is also created a weakness in the concrete, which is where it can start to split. And those cracks can appear and will show up on your surface material. You have none of that issue with Tyroc. Tyroc can save anywhere from $2 a square foot to $12 a square foot in the total installation cost when you look at what has to be done to the substrates, all of these things that we just talked about. So some of the benefits of the product is that it is totally moisture proof. That can sit in a tank of water forever and never change dimensionally, deteriorate in any way. It might discolor because of the water, but it's certainly not going to. A lot of stuff that's used today is wood subfloors. And you know what happens to wood when it gets wet? It starts to expand, swell, rot, and then you're yanking those things over time as well. Mold and mildew proof. This started out with a company that came to us who said that they could get mold to grow on anything. They were mold experts, mold remediation experts. And they'd like to show us how their product could benefit ours. So they took our product away and tested it. And they inoculated it with 5 different kinds of molds, and some real nasty ones too. And when they got finished putting it in a chamber, a high humidity chamber for 28 days, the results came back that there was no mold growth at all on any one of those 5 samples. Now if you think about it, it's pretty intuitive. You never see mold growing on your car tire. It just doesn't happen, okay? Because they're already pre-treated. Right? And rubber hasn't got anything in it to feed mold. So you're not going to see mold showing up. So it's got a great resistance of mold. Sound attenuation has become one of the biggest deals in the construction industry, whether it's multi-residential, homeowners themselves are interested in sound. Because sound has become the litigation issue of the day. Understanding sound transmission there's 2 parts to it. One is called sound transmission, or ST, which is me talking. Can people hear me through the walls? Right? Can they hear the stereos going? Can they hear the toilets flush through the walls to the next room? That's sound transmission. What they worry about mostly in multi-residential, high-rise condominiums is the fact of footfall noise. People walking across the floor, bouncing a ball, kids running and playing. Those are the things that have become litigious today and everywhere. The building code throughout North America requires that you hit what is known as an impact insulation, deadening the sound above you to a level of 50. The score is 0 to 100, 100 being the highest. 50 is the standard in the building code. Right? Tyroc all by itself with nothing over top of it, just sitting on top of a concrete floor, hits a 63. Normally when they do the IIC rating, it's the floor above, whatever's on the floor above, plus whatever's under the ceiling underneath. This was just sitting on a concrete slab, nothing on the ceiling underneath, nothing on top of Tyroc in an IIC. That was on a concrete deck. On a wood deck, we still hit a 63. Now, as you put materials on top of that, wood, ceramics, that sort of thing, it'll actually lower them because they're actually more noise. But with ours, it still hit a 57 with the tile floor over top of it. And again, no ceiling underneath yet. You put the ceiling underneath, now you're back into the 60s and 70s, which means you've got a very, very quiet building. Doesn't mean you're not going to hear anything, right? Anybody can hear anything except dropping things on the floor, but it does deaden the sound tremendously. This was one of my favorite conversations I had with a doctor or a professor of ergonomics. When he saw our product, he called me. And what he said to us was, this is exactly what a sub-4 or a ergonomic mat should be. Most of the ergonomic mats that are out on the market today are just rubber mats. But the problem with the rubber mats is that you're doing this on a rubber mat because it's got some give to it. And that is extremely bad on your spine, because your spine's twisting all day long. Right? So it doesn't provide. What he said is the best thing is to have a comfortable surface that is undulating, but a firm surface so it supports the back. And that's when he even wrote back to us and said, this is probably the most ergonomically best board I've ever seen on the market today. I just showed you how easy it was to install. It goes down so fast. That's where contractors like it, because normally when they're doing a subfloor, they'll book a whole day to do 1,000 square feet. Or maybe even more in some cases, depending on what they have to install. If they're anchoring or mudding down, they do tile floors. A lot of times they use a cement board and they're bolting that cement floor directly onto the substrate. Then they embed that in a bath of mud, and they've got to go away for 2 or 3 days and let it all dry. Then they can come back and start laying tile. And then they got to go away and wait for the tile to dry, in order for the tile to dry. Then they can come back and grab it. With our product, they can lay that down and be laying the tile the same day. Then they go away for 1 day, let the grout dry, come back, then the mortar dry, come back, grout it, they're gone. Easy to maintain. And this is a big deal. We talked about cracks in the concrete. You see it in high traffic areas, supermarkets, where the floors are all done up. You've got areas where there's so much moisture and they've got a glue down, peel and stick type tile. They don't stay down anymore. They just kind of pull right up again. That's all caused by moisture that's coming out through the substrate. Well, you have these issues with concrete and you want to replace the product. You just pull up the Tyroc. It's not anchored to the floor. So you can break the seam, you can pull it up, you can put a new piece down, and you refinish your floor. Or you can take the whole floor out. Today in the commercial world, when they're doing it, the cost of them doing a removal is one of the most expensive jobs you could ever do in the construction industry, especially a tile floor. First of all, you got to come in and you got to bust up all the tile, get it out of there. Then you got to come in and you got to grind all of the glue and mortar off of the concrete. Now you got to reseal the concrete because it's got no seal left in it and it's going to have moisture issues. So you need to reseal it. With Tyroc, you have 2 choices. You could leave the tile floor there and just put Tyroc down over top of it, which if you look at our install video on our website, you'll see that we put one down directly over top of the tile floor. We didn't have to even remove the tile floor. But if you do remove the tile floor, all you got to do is put Tyroc down over top of it. You don't have to spend all that time and energy grinding, sanding, resealing, and saving yourself a lot of time and money getting it done. If Tyroc was present there in the first place, you could be renovating all the time. And I know a few women who would love the idea that they could replace their tile floors in their kitchens about every 4 or 5 years, which is another opportunity for Tyroc within future home builds for future renovation. And again, with Tyroc, it doesn't matter what you want to put down on the surface. You want a ceramic tile, laminate woods, engineered woods, carpets, they can all go down on Tyroc, and there's no other treatment that you have to do to the surface. The only time you have to treat the surface of Tyroc is if you're going to use, not many people do anymore, is a sheet linoleum. the old linoleum floors. There you need to treat the seams. You'd have to fill in the seams, you'd have to sand them all off, and then you can put that down. Otherwise, those seams are going to show up as witness marks on the floor in a very, very short order. So we only recommend using sheet vinyls if you've treated the seams. Hardwood floors. Hardwood floors are big in New York City. They do a lot, almost all of their construction is done with hardwood floors. With Tyroc, you do need an additional piece of material if you're going to do a hardwood floor, because you look at this thing, we were only a ½ inch in profile. You can't nail through that. Okay? If you're sitting on top of a concrete deck, or if you're sitting on a wood deck, you can. But on a concrete deck, you wouldn't be able to. You'd have to add a 5/8 inch piece of plywood over top of that, and then you can nail it all through. You can nail it, you can glue it, you can do anything you want as far as installing hardwood floors on it. You end up with a fabulously finished floor. When you want to take that floor out again, just pull it all out. The Tyroc and everything else will come out with it again and start all over. This is something that we've been working on with a company called Elitecrete. And Elitecrete are, they use a floor epoxies and cementous-based designs for enhancing floors. These are floors that are made actually with cement. Look at how beautiful those floors are. What they started working with us on was the fact that when they tried to do that over old concrete surfaces that had been down for a long time, they don't adhere well. They put Tyroc down, it adheres beautifully. They love it. So now they're out there, and this has also opened up a market for them, that they can use this in wood deck buildings, because they can put Tyroc down and hit the moisture and sound requirements that they have in those buildings before they put down that kind of thing. People think this is extremely expensive to do. It's not. It's not as expensive as you would think. It's not even as expensive as doing tile itself. But you got a beautiful surface, and it's a textured floor, but it's a very, very hard floor, so you don't have any scuffing or cracking or any of those things. And since we've decoupled it from the surface below, the substrate below, these aren't going to show up with cracks. Over and above all of those other benefits of our product, we're an environmentally responsible company. We take millions of tires, plastic water bottles, and turn them into a product that has both a consumer and contractor benefit. Since we started this business and selling the product, for every 500 square feet we put down, we take 11.5 passenger tires and 150 pounds of plastic out of landfills. That's a nice green story for the product. Since we began, we've stopped more than 60,500 tires and more than 700,000 pounds of plastics from going into landfills or floating in our oceans. So we do have that ergonomic story that we like to tell. And again, all of the features are here. It's a 100% green product, so it will contribute to LEED certification, which is an important thing in today's construction. For anything that has government funding to it requires a LEED certification, and we help with that LEED certification because of the greenness. I've already mentioned every 500 square feet. Okay, there are no VOCs. There's no gases that come off of this product. It's that's already a vulcanized rubber, so it's already in a finalized state. It's not going to get off gas any further than it is, other than it can smell like rubber. But once you put it down and it's all sealed up, you'll never smell that rubber again. Again, dimensionally speaking, one of the things that's really nice about that product is how much weight it can support. It can support 75,000 pounds per square foot, or about 531 pounds per square inch. A 747 wouldn't weigh 531 pounds per square inch sitting on its tires, because the weight gets dispersed. So it's a very solid product in its right. It's easy to carry. You can handle it well. We're foot friendly. And again, you can easily remove it if you're going to do future renovations. We truly believe that we have created the next generation subfloor product. We're getting a lot of interest from contractors, homeowners, builders, architects. Thank you.